question, another point that I wanted to make was, we will always have, I think, that client who wants something cheaper and therefore will go for digital printing. But there will always be that customer who does not want that and who wants it made by hand and who appreciates that, who has an appreciation for the work behind it and the craft and the artist who is creating that. And so I think there is the balance would be there. I mean, who is your client and who are you, who is your audience? That becomes the question. Of course, I would, if there's no other questions from the audience, there is one? Okay, yes. Do we have the mic? I think we only have the one mic here. The other mic was.
Check. Yeah. So We Who Clothe the World is now finding Amrita Mukherjee as well as Arundhati, if you could look into this, because you're thinking a lot about the handlooms of Bengal. At grassroots, we find that you're talking about languishing, you're talking about disappearing, you're talking about all of this that is happening. We are unable to get our West Bengal government to be really concerned or involved, because I think they're into the politics of the entire game. So what is it that can be game-changing for Bengal handloom specifically? I'd like to hear your point.
One is, of course, bringing in new designs, design language, and making it more appealing to the younger generation. So, I am trying to influence my daughter every day to wear more Indian stuff. She's more into the Zaras and the H&Ms. So I'm trying to convert her to slow fashion, but it's very difficult. You have to make something very interesting and appealing. So I showed her a little bit of the sampling of apparel that I'm doing right now, and I'm taking her approval because she's the generation of today. If she likes, others are going to like. So I'm making a little bit of apparel now, and for every piece I'm showing to her, is this okay? Do you think your friends will wear it or you will wear it? Something like that. So the design intervention, and of course, but the traditional, I am a firm believer in the traditional. So I work with a traditional craft, and in Jamdani, I think the traditional is always timeless. You can give them a modern look or a modern twist, but traditional is going to stay. It has been there for 200, 300, 500 years. So I think design and, bringing in new concepts. In fact, one of the other things that we can definitely do, and I think many of us are doing, is exploring craft beyond apparel. So, like home furnishings, upholstery, and things like that. So if we can bring in more of handloom into that, I think that way we can sustain, and we can, continue, and that way our weavers will also get work throughout the year, and we can do experimentation as well. So new things, new ideas have to be pumped in. We cannot go on the same way we were going. In Dhonekhali, right now there are very few weavers left who are actually doing so. B.B. Russell has been brought in to revive Dhonekhali. So some maybe fresh ideation, fresh ideas, new things have to be thought of. Otherwise it'll just go on and eventually die its natural death.
Thank you, Arundhati. I think I'm afraid we're out of time. Okay, okay, yes.
Sorry. My name is Amrita Mukherjee from Sutra Textile Studies. Our focus is on education, on creating awareness. And this is actually in a comment from what Edric said just now about the government and the handloom. Unfortunately, everywhere, both in Bengal and I think a lot of India, power looms are getting into all the villages. And we have to keep our handlooms alive and also create the awareness that our handlooms is our USP. So India's USP, I think. So we just have to keep it alive, and I think we have to hold hands. in doing so. Create awareness about handlooms, the beauty, the preciousness of handlooms. That's
Very well said. And of course, to sum it up, we should not forget the 3C rule, which is credit to the artist, consent, take their consent to share their work, and also compensate them adequately or even more than adequately. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful, wonderful panel discussion. I know we all have a lot of questions, but we do have another very interesting session coming up, so we have to keep track of the time. I do apologize for not being able to give space for a lot of questions. Now, I'd like to invite Ms. Sonali Raman to please honor our speakers for today. Ms. Namrata Shah, I request you to step forward, please. No, first yourself, then Namrata Shah, sorry. Yes, please. Mr. Edric Ong. Ms. Sweetie Kalita. And Ms. Arundhati Maitra.
I now invite Ms. Bessie to honor our chairperson, Ms. Sonali. Before we proceed to the next session, we have a small video from our Tamil Nadu government that we need to air. So we will have that video, followed by which we will have our next session on fashion for development. And our chairperson and moderator for that session is Mr. Prasad.
Just one small announcement. Yesterday we found a pair of glasses that were left behind in the conference room. If any of you is missing their glasses, please look for us backstage and we will guide you on getting it back. Thank you.
In Tanjore district, Thirubuvanam town is located in the vicinity of Kumbakonam. The town of Thirubuvanam has been renowned for producing aesthetically pleasing silk sarees since the time of Rajaraja Chola.
நம்ம திருபுவனம் பட்டினுடைய டைஸ் மெத்தட் எப்படின்னு கேட்டிங்கன்னா பசை எடுக்கிறோம், டீகம் பண்ணுறோம், அந்த நூலில் இருக்கிற டீகம் பண்ணுறோம். டிசைன் அந்த பார்ட்ரு எந்த அளவுக்கு பார்ட்ரு அதுக்கு தகுந்த மாதிரி அதை பிரித்து நம்ம வந்து டை பண்ணுறோம். பசையை நீக்கினதுக்கப்புறம் டை பண்ணுறோம்.
Degumming process is done to remove certain or gum from the silk fibra.
அப்போ தான் அந்த பசை எடுத்ததுக்கப்புறம் டை பண்ணும்போது தான் அந்த சாயமானது கெட்டித்தன்மையாக இருக்கும், நல்ல ஒரு ஷைனிங் பளபளப்பு கிடைக்கும். அந்த டை வேஸ்ட்டை வந்து நம்ம வந்து ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் பண்ணி சோலார் எலாபரேஷன் மூலயமா பண்ணுறோம்.
The sizing is done by stretching the bark and applying natural adhesives, and then drying and combing the yarn to make it stiff. process of weaving involves cone winding followed by pin winding for the weft. In the weaving of these silk sarees, mulberry flecha silk yarns are used for both warp and weft, and pure gold zari is used for extra warp and extra weft design.
கிட்டத்தட்ட நான் வந்து 12 வருஷமாக அந்த தறியை தொடர்ந்து நெசிக்கிட்டா வர்றேன். இது வந்து கவர்மெண்ட்டு உற்பத்தி செஞ்சு கொடுக்குற ஜரிகை இது தமிழ்நாடுங்கிறது. அதே மாதிரி சூரத்துலேருந்து சூரத் ஜரிகைன்னு வருது. ரெண்டும் நம்ம கலந்து நெய்கிறோம். சராசரியாக ஒரு பாவு வந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட 120 நாள் மேலே ஆகிடும் எங்களுக்கு. ஒரு பாவுங்கிறது 6 சேலை.
இப்போ நான் நெய்கிறது வந்து ஆஃபைன் ஜாங்கிலா. இது வந்து திருவள்ளூரில் மட்டும்தான் இது போடுறாங்க.
Quality testing is done to determine the weight of the pure gold zari and ensure the integrity of the design. The use of flecha silk results in high quality, uniform and high luster sarees.
We now invite Mr. Prasad for the next session on fashion for development.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Prasad Bidappa. I work in the sector of fashion promotion, fashion for development, of course, but we promote various kinds of fashion. I studied at NID in the 70s and was very fortunate to have the great textile historians of India like Kamla Devi Chattopadhyay and Pupul Jaikar and Martan Singh mentor us, our batch, who also include David Abraham and Rakesh Thakur, Alpana from Ahmedabad, and many, many very, very fine designers who were in my batch. I didn't go into pure design, but I went into the promotion of design. And today, as we beat our breasts about the sorry state of affairs in India, with the weavers and the artisans not getting their due, do we realize that we live in a world where a Louis Vuitton bag can be bought for 5 lakhs of rupees, but to buy a Banaras or a Kanjivaram for 50,000 rupees is considered expensive? And sometimes I think it is our fault, really, because we have such a warped sense of values that we don't really understand that what we call artisanal is actually something that belongs in the world of luxury. And that is what I'm going to be asking my panel about, to say, why do we not treat it with the respect it is due? Why do we even talk about the wages of an artisan, where the artisan is no less than a designer? And a designer like Sabyasachi Mukherjee, who felt free to copy the work of wonderful artisans for H&M, with whom he did a collaborative project, digitally printed just about everything he could get his hands on, giving no credit or part of the profit to the artisan. That's the world we live in. So what do we do about it? We have to fight back. And as we all try to fight back, I think to myself, what is it that the Chinese do? Do you know that they even import looms from Kanjivaram and from Benares back to China, learn all the designs, produce everything on computerized CAD/CAM systems, and they send the Kanjivarams back over here and the Benareses back to Benares to be sold on the streets for very low amounts. And they look quite real, especially in pictures. So if your household helps daughters getting married, can you fault her for buying that? She has no choice. She can't pay 40,000 rupees for a sari, but she can pay 400 rupees. It's 400 rupees. I know because I've just come back from Benares. And I saw this on the street. The most beautiful things, I mean, they looked lovely until you suddenly realized that they were not real. How do you tell the difference between powerloom and handloom? There's one very easy rule. In powerloom, the lines are always very straight. So check that way. But on the handloom, the line will waver a little bit because you can't get it absolutely straight. It doesn't have the same strength as power looming to be able to create that straight line. So the next time you're buying something that someone's trying to pass off as handloom, and let me tell you, a lot of the big sari houses, a lot of the designers are doing this, either because they don't know or they don't care, or because the profit margin is so huge. And big designers, again like Sabyasachi or Manish Malhotra, no offense in taking their name, they buy directly from the weaver, so this is how it works. In Rajasthan, if you buy a Kota Doria from a good store, you'll pay about 30,000 rupees for it. But do you know that the weaver's actually only earning 6,000 rupees for it for 6 weeks of work? That's 1,000 rupees a week. How does he even expect to survive on money like that? So the 6,000 rupees is taken and bought by the middleman, who then says, oh, I'm not carrying enough money with me, so I'll pay you 5,000 rupees. Now, when the weaver needs the money, he needs the money. So he just gets browbeaten into selling it for 5,000 rupees. It reaches the store, the middleman sells it for double the price, which he makes it about 12 to 15,000 rupees. And the store doubles the price of that and sells it for 30,000 rupees, which is fine. But then why not share it with the artisan and have it in retrospective, pay the money back to them also? It's very, very difficult. I mean, we're in a situation where there are fakes abounding and it's so difficult to get anything done properly. So if we do not elevate our products to the level of luxury, you know, Christian Dior, the fashion house from Paris, for the last, I think, 40 or 50 years has been embroidering some of the most beautiful pieces in India without ever giving us a word of credit. For the first time in 2023, Dior came to India and did a tribute show to the artisans and craftsmen of the country who have been embroidering such beautiful things for them, for Lesage and for so many people like that. It's all done in Chennai. You know that Lesage has a big workshop over here doing the most wonderful embroidery. But at what price and at what cost? And you know, when Edric was talking about elevating the status of the artisan, we did Rajasthan Heritage Week, which Vasundhara Raje, the then Chief Minister, supported. And because of her support, the project happened. And the whole project was to ensure that we revived, created new designs, and created new markets for the artisans. And it was a very successful project. But even over there, you find that, you know, we insisted that the artisans walk on the runway with the models at the end of the fashion show, the way the designers do. Because otherwise the designer takes all the credit for what the weaver is doing. So we made it a rule that if you had worked on a collaborative aspect, because we brought many big designers like Abraham and Thakur and Rohit Bal and Ritu Kumar and many people to the table and created partnerships with the artisans. And the great thing about it was that within 1 year, the artisans had understood the aspect of new design. And they on their own started creating new designs. We taught them how to use color forecasting, to use European and American color forecasts to color their own saris, and it worked beautifully. Suddenly the Kota Dorias, which had become extremely gaudy and full of zari, had become more subtle. They were using colors like khaki and black, like how Abraham and Thakur had tried to show them. And it began to really take off. I can't take too much time, otherwise I can just go on all day about this whole thing. But the positioning of our artisanal craft, our traditional textiles, our heritage textiles and processes has to be elevated to the luxury market, and that's what I'm going to be talking to the panel about. Ladies and gentlemen, a quick audiovisual, which I think is being presented by Beena Rao, and after that we will start the panel. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and please don't feel hungry. There are some beautiful things to see. I'm waiting for the meanwhile. I would like to give a brief introduction as a simple girl from Gujarat, born and brought up in a aristocratic family, studied art, did masters. In her own dream world, she wanted to become an artist, then fell in love with a South Indian boy, and she was forced to wait for the wedding approval, and blessing in disguise, landed up at NID and studied textile design. And that young girl did not even imagine that the opportunities my way will come will have to create different avatars for me, you know. And the first most difficult avatar that I was put in was to run the business of Creative Bee, which has become a social enterprise, because anything you create, you have to sell to survive, right? So had it been my choice, I would just do art, I would just do art textiles, but that was not the destiny. The destiny had something else. So the company began in, I think it's 25 years now, but along the way, my passion for imparting knowledge did not go away. And I marry a true artist, so he is a man of skills, and he has been training artisan. He would love to, you invite him. Adric had invited him a couple of years ago to Sarawak. By then he had research on natural dyes and made the farm, Creative Bee Dye Farm. So together they invented the Var Birar yellow, which Adric had just shown. So training is our passion, that is another avatar. Then education. Having studied at NID, and Prasad just now said that, you know, we have produced many eminent designers, but imagine in 2060, NID was established. How many years ago? It was primarily established to feed the industrial growth of the country, because Sarabhais have had a major role, but also at the same time it was meant for designers to adopt the craft and the handloom sector and give their contribution there. But if you look at it so many years down the line now, very few educated designers from NID or NIFT or as many more design institutes have given their time and life to the handloom and handicraft sector. So this is one thing that has impacted us a lot, that though we have our own trained designers, our artisan and weavers have remained remote. Can I have the, yeah, is this the one? Sure. So anyways, I have spoken about these three avatars that I am now functioning with. I am also a part of governing councils at the education institutes. I am also guest speaker at a lot of international institutes, but I have no regrets, because end of the day, my main avatar is working with artisan weavers and Creative Bee's umbrella, under which we have the Creative Bee Dye Farm, which houses many families. Since 20 years, they have their children education looked after by us. And we will move on to, before I indulge into Creative Bee, I don't want to take too much time talking about Creative Bee. We have bigger agendas here to discuss. I'm sure this is a wider platform. So coming back to the fashion for development, it is sustainable fashion for development, I would say, that is required today. Now, need of an hour to focus on research, revival, and recreate. And I think very apt scholars are here, attendees are here, delegates are here, and they are all researchers. Most of them are revivalists, and most of them are designers and recreating, and establishments who are for modern kind of handloom textiles. So my message today is that Indian subcontinent had been clothing the world for centuries with exquisite hand-woven textiles and natural dyes, and the knowledge is unparalleled. I'm sure you all agree. My presentation is about how precious is our heritage of skills and how soon we can adopt them for the sustainable fashion, which is the global trend today. We have lost time. We are at a juncture where world wants our products. Post-COVID, the opportunities for sustainable, handmade, natural, biodegradable fashion is so much which opportunity we cannot in India afford to ignore. Moving on to what we can contribute despite the substantial chunk of knowledge that we have lost within past 200 years, if we can hold on to the practices that we still have, and world demand is growing. So the right time to revival, it is late, but right time for people who have establishments, mid-scale or even micro-scale can scale up, then the opportunities are knocking at our door. Each enterprise and individual who are engaged in any of the value chain of handloom and natural dye, such as research, dye cultivation, training, production at cottage level or at MSME level, everyone need to go to the next level as soon as they can, because my second avatar of speaking at international conferences, showcasing my fashion collection internationally has brought me to see that the world is just ready. And every alternate week, every alternate day, I'm been located. Though there is no marketing effort done by Creative Bee, the media, as somebody said, is able to locate us. There are webinars happening, 2 webinar calls, and then you are there.